Okay, so let's talk about actions, what they are, how they function, and how we use them in the most basic sense. Okay, and to do that, I'm going to backtrack a little bit and talk about data blocks, because an action is a data block. So if you go over here to Scenes and go down to Data Blocks, you can cycle through the whole list of types of data blocks that there are in a Blender scene, and actions is one of those. You can see right there. Okay, we don't have any yet, but we will. So let's go back to all scenes, and you can see we have Torus 1 and Torus 2. And remember, those both can be linked to the same mesh, right? And a mesh is nothing more than a data block. So let's go back over here to data blocks, and we see we have objects, Torus 1, Torus 2. Let's open Torus 2. We go down here to data, and in data we have the mesh data block right there, right? So if I go over here to mesh and I just say Torus source, right? I've just renamed that data block, and they're both accessing the same one, you see? And there's a number right here saying that has two users, is what that means. So this mesh is being used by this Torus and that Torus container. All right, so let's go back to the scene, all scenes, and now we can see these two mesh objects and mesh containers, mesh data blocks, right? Okay, and so now let's say I want to add a color. I've added a material, right? And again, back in data blocks, you can see if we go all the way down to the bottom here, a material is a data block. It's part of the data, right? Torus. And so basically it's locked in with this mesh here, this data mesh, which is locked into this Torus here, but they're both using the same mesh. So when I change the color, I'm changing the color for both of them. All right, so what I want to do is I want to unlink that. So I want to go over here to the mesh and I want to click the two. Now it says Torus source 001. Let's just say Torus source 2 for the heck of it. And then now we go over here to the material, and now the material, this shows up a number, and it's saying that the material is being used by this mesh and that mesh. So I'm going to click on that, and it gives me a new material name. And so I'm just going to make that sort of a purplish color. All right. And so now that pretty much describes what a data block is, right? It can be linked and unlinked. Let's go back here to scenes, all scenes. And so now we have two different meshes, and if we expand further, we have two different materials, right? And I can rename that right here, and we'll just call that Torus 2 material, right? So I just renamed that data block. Now let's talk about an action, and it works the same way. So we go up here to animation, right? And remember I said you can change the dope sheet to the action editor, and so right now we don't have any actions. So let's make one. And keep an eye on this, because it's going to show up as soon as I create a keyframe. It will make an action over here. We could make one or manually, or we could make one automatically when we start animating. Okay, so let's do it this way. So in the first frame, I'm going to make a rotation keyframe. Go over here. I'm going to expand this, make another rotation value there, and then I'm going to keep hovering there and just make a keyframe. So now we have rotation over here. So now you see we got an action. See there? So now we got Torus 2 action. And so we got some animation on there, right? So now this one doesn't have any, but if you've already figured this out by now, it can. All I got to do is select action, and now both of them are acting the same way. They have the same keyframes, all right? However, if I want to make this one slightly different, I could have either just animated it from the beginning, or I can take and modify this one by simply clicking on that 2 again, because it's being used by 2 users, right? Click on that again, and now this is its own action. I could make another keyframe of rotation here in the middle, just do a random rotation there like that, and make a keyframe on rotation. And now this one is rotating totally differently than the other one, right? So that's what an action is. It's just a data block of animation, essentially. Go up here to data blocks, and we'll see, we scroll down here to actions, and now we've got two actions, this one and this one. All right, so that's what it is. That's how it works in the most basic sense. Whenever you're animating in Blender, you're dealing with actions. Okay.